While stress and anxiety are linked, they are actually two different states of being. And what you do to alleviate stress can actually make you more anxious. So you got to know what tools to use when. I've got so many great strategies and tips that I've created a two-part series for this. Today, I'll teach you the key difference between stress and anxiety, and then outline my top 7 tips for effectively dealing with stress. And then next week, we'll focus on my top anxiety strategies. So it's explosive, get ready. And since one of your best tactics for alleviating anxiety is to reduce the stress in your life, you'll want to stay right here, even if you think your only problem is anxiety, since I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to start living a more peaceful, joyful life. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Hey, I am so glad you're here. Because what would I be doing if you weren't here with me? I would just be talking into space. And I never feel like I'm talking into space when I'm doing the podcast. I can see you. Thank you for all the amazing, God, I've gotten so many incredible emails and the reviews. And might I say, I had already done this episode, which is so interesting, but someone left a review recently as I'm recording this. And I forgot your name. I'm so sorry. It was a beautiful review. Thank you. And mentioned they'd like to see something on anxiety. And I was already doing it. So great minds think alike. But I have gotten quite a few emails and messages from people asking for these topics. And when I sat down to really do everything, I realized this is a two-parter. I'm going to end up giving you so much information. It would be very hard to really take it in. Andrew Huberman can do those 4-hour podcasts. God bless him. And he's a sexy bastard, isn't he? I love him. I have such a crush. Not that kind of crush, like a brain crush on him, because my man is fine. But he's incredible. And if you haven't listened to him, I highly suggest it. If you like my podcast, you'll like his. But they're long sometimes. I can't, with all my sitting around, get through them. So I'm going to try to do these shorter today. So here we go. And if you haven't left a review yet, what's up? Come on. Throw me a bone, Wilma. Come on. Leave a review. Rate it on Spotify. Like it on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Give me a little comment even. These are wonderful things you can do for me if you feel like I'm doing for you. So, and it doesn't cost you a penny. Come on. Okay, so the research is pretty clear, okay? And I say pretty clear. It is clear, unequivocal, that your relationships with yourself and the people you love are worse off when you're stressed out. And I don't think that you have to be Freud to figure that out, right? And I don't think it comes as a shock to anyone, but I'm going to get nitty gritty today, as I always do. So any, fight with your friend, you have money worries, that nasty commute, little Jimmy's newly diagnosed gluten allergy, all those long work days, all of those things bleed over into your primary relationship with your partner and really into all your relationships. And the research shows that the more frustrations and problems you have outside your home, the more stress and decreased satisfaction you'll have inside your home. So this means your relationship with your partner and your kids or whoever's really close to you really suffers with stress. So let's talk about how stress affects your relationship. When you're stressed, you are more likely to ruminate. And let me back up. So, and I'm going to talk a lot about kind of stress in the home today, but obviously, so I might say your relationship, meaning your partner, but if you're single, obviously stress might be an issue. And so, always know that when I'm talking, it's everybody. It's just hard sometimes to say your mother, your dad, your partner, your kid. I sometimes just pick a person, but this applies anywhere. So if you're single, if you're in a relationship, if you're not, listen up. Okay. So basically, stress leads us towards rumination and negative thinking. Okay? When you're in rumination, meaning you can't stop thinking about something, it's flying over and over in your head. And when you're in this type of mood, your partner gets stressed or the people at home get stressed, and then they're likely to withdraw from you in some way, right? They're stressed, you're stressed. And when that happens, you start to withdraw from them. And everybody's left feeling, abandoned, misunderstood, unsupported, and it all really sucks. So stress is affecting you and your relationships in ways you can't even imagine. A lot of times we just think of how stress affects ourselves, of course, which is also really bad. And I'm not even getting into today all of the physical detriments from chronic stress, heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, bad skin. I mean, all the things. I'm talking mental health today, but wow, if you're there's so many physical issues that respond to stress. But when you're stressed, you got a lot of this negative thinking. It's one of the things that happens. So that also means it hampers or obstructs your ability to focus. Okay, so you have a hard time focusing. The reason is all these neurotransmitters running around telling you not to focus and to focus on whatever the stress thing that's stressing you out is. But so we can't focus as well. We can't. It impairs our ability to think and plan because our prefrontal cortex isn't working really well. It affects our judgment. It affects our listening skills. So you think you're listening well and you're not. You're at work and you're really stressed. And guess what? You're not hearing things either the way they're intended. You're missing whole swaths of information. You are hearing things with a negative spin when they're not. I mean, all kinds of things. So it really affects your judgment and your listening skills. It drives your patience level down, right? You know that. It drives your irritability up. I mean, stress sucks, I think we can say without too much, I don't think I'm out on a big ledge here saying stress sucks. So, of course, when all these areas of your life are affected, your communication skills go down the drain. You become more withdrawn, you become distracted, less affectionate when you're stressed. We become very narrowly focused on ourselves and our own survival when we're stressed out. So, and that, when you're in a relationship, I will tell you, that has you competing with your partner. You compete for attention, time, money, any resources in the partnership, and you really forget you're on the same team. And before long, your partner is your enemy. It's terrible. And by the way, if you haven't listened to my TED Talk yet, if you go on YouTube, Abby Medcalf TEDx or TED Talk, I talk about the real reason relationships fail, and I go into a lot of that about being a team and what that means. So anyway, if you're interested, if you haven't seen it yet, give it a like. Hey, go listen. Anyway, so let's talk about stress in your brain. I'm trying to think of the order I want to do things. I want to talk about stress in your brain next. And I'm not going to go deep on the brain stuff. So don't, I'm really going to get to the tips as quick as possible today, but because they're going to take a minute, but I want to say a few things. So the National Institute of Mental Health defines stress as the brain's response to any demand. Okay? Any demand. Anything that your brain sees as a demand. So that's anything from paying a bill to someone yelling at you to having to get to work on time. Those are demands. They create stress. And those demands of the brain result in a set of physical responses, a set of responses that happen in your body. And I think, Dr. Robert Sapolsky of Stanford, he's like the guy. If you haven't read his books yet, you don't have, I talk about him a lot, so you can just listen to me, I guess. But he's amazing. He has a great TED Talk. He talks a lot about this, and he has studied this quite a bit. So I'll paraphrase some of his points. And he talks about how chronic stress, affects our nervous system, right? It actually kills neurons in a part of your brain called the hippocampus. And your hippocampus is part of your brain's limbic system. And it's linked to memory and learning. And not only does stress kill the neurons, but it also weakens the connections between the ones that are left, the surviving ones, which makes it difficult for them to communicate. And that impairs the actual formation of memories. It affects your retrieval of long-term memories. It affects, again, like how memories are formed and stored into long-term memory, all that. So it's really affecting your ability to be realistic. I know. You think you're seeing something as it is, but you're not, because of the way your brain has literally been damaged. Our brains are neuroplastic. And so we can change the real estate. We can actually change like how big the hippocampus is or how small or shriveled or dying off. We can do that with stress, with what we think about. I know it's major. So when you're affecting the hippocampus like this, you're affecting your ability to be able to store memories correctly so you don't see them realistically. When something is happening, you see it as more negative. You give the negative more weight. It's hard to recall positive things. And so you're seeing things skewed. Now, at the same time, get this, because, we're built like incredible machines. Chronic stress, so it's shriveling and shrinking this hippocampus, right, which is affecting memory and how you form it and how you store it. But at the same time, this chronic stress does the opposite in another part of the limbic system, which is something I talk about a lot, your amygdala. I talk about the amygdala, I think, all the time, right? I'm always chatting about your amygdala, which, as you know, is the seat of fear in your brain. It's your brain's guard. It's always on guard, looking for threats, right? So while stress is busy shrinking and destroying things in your hippocampus, it's actually feeding and expanding the amygdala, the fear center of your brain. And that ain't good. You don't have to, right? You don't have to be a neuroscientist to know that isn't good. It creates, this sort of hot amygdala. This, basically means that this fear part of your brain is hyper reactive. It's lit up. It's a hysterical teenager, if you need some sort of metaphor for it. That's what's happening. So again, you're not seeing things as they really are. So when you're stressed, you'll notice negative stuff way more, and you're less able to stop yourself from reacting, badly to those things that are happening. And you end up impatient, not giving other people, the benefit of the doubt. You end up more irritable, more hostile. So arguments, of course, are way more likely to happen. This is when those little things you were passing by your partner and you mentioned something small, and next thing you know, you're talking divorce. You're thinking, oh my gosh, I just asked what kind of milk we use, well, I didn't know that was going to be this, or I question that there's 800 pillows on the bed when I have to make it. Can there be 700, and next thing you know, you need couples counseling. That's how those things happen and get so blown out of proportion. And it's really also the reason that your libido often has left the building, right? That your sex life has gone out the window if you're in a relationship, or even not. When we're very stressed, sex isn't really chronic stress. With chronic stress, we're not thinking of, our libido does go down, and we're just not thinking of sex in the same way generally. Some people, of course, when they're super stressed, that's all they want to do is have sex as a kind of form of escape, like drinking or something else. So, and that's something a little different, but they're kind of two sides of the same coin. But for most people I know, when they're really stressed, they're not thinking about sex a lot. So here's where the rubber hits the road. Let's talk about the difference between stress and anxiety. Okay. And again, I'm going to be covering anxiety next week, but this, for me, I'd learned a lot of tools for many years about how to deal with my anxiety or my stress. And I often found they weren't working, and I couldn't figure out why they weren't working. And when I finally, read enough and looked at enough, this aha moment of, oh, you do different things for stress than you do for anxiety, because they're different in the brain. They lead to one another. Stress leads to anxiety, or can, but anxiety itself can just be there, right? So here's the difference between stress and anxiety. Stress is a response to an external cause, and it goes away once that external issue is resolved. So you might feel a little stressed if a bill comes, but then you pay the bill and you realize you're okay, you got money in the account, and the stress goes away, okay? Anxiety is a reaction to stress, but it's an internal issue. Anxiety is this persistent or kind of excessive worry, and it doesn't go away even when the stressor's no longer there. So I might have gotten that bill, and I might have paid it and there was money in my account and there's still some left over, but I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I get another bill? What if something else comes in? I don't know if there's enough in there. I don't know. And then it's all right. I'm perseverating, even though right this minute there was money to pay the bills. There's money in the account. I'm okay. But my brain is, I'm anxious. Okay. So you see the difference there? Hopefully you can see that. Okay. You're smart. I know you can see it. So since stress obviously can trigger anxiety, keeping your stress level as low as possible is the first rule of thumb, really, when you're dealing with anxiety. And it's why I split up the podcasts. It occurred to me as I was doing it, or the episodes, sorry. I always say podcast when I mean episodes. Sorry, I'm old. That's what happens. So, because I realized, I was like, wow, stress, it's such a big deal to try to take care of stress in your life in a very real way. And that will really help anxiety later, right? And then we'll, again, get to anxiety. So I thought I should just do a whole episode on stress and just how to relieve stress and how to effectively manage it, I should say. We always have stress. You can't get rid of stress. Stress is always going to be there. It's a case of whether or not you're managing it effectively, right? And I want to strongly encourage anyone who's experiencing chronic stress or anxiety you got to seek out a mental health professional. So I'm going to give you tips here, 7 tips, and we're going to jump into them right now. But if something is that chronic, and I love you and I'm here for you and I'm always here with, evidence-based information, but if you find that you're listening to what I'm given and it's still not quite getting you there, I would really strongly encourage you to find a mental health provider who is expert in whatever it is that you're dealing with. Okay. So I do want to say that. All right. And I hope you get that for every podcast, every episode I put out. That's really how I want you to be thinking. All right. So tip number 1 is meditation. Damn it. I said it. I'm not afraid of you. I am not afraid of you. And I will keep talking about meditation. You got to learn to meditate 15 minutes a day. It'll absolutely change your life. It's not as hard as you think. And it's absolutely the best way to deal with stress. And it's what's great about it is that it's preemptive. It helps stress not happen. It's prophylactic, meaning it's protective. So I have an entire episode on meditation and how to do it. I will link to it, as I always do. I'll link to it. Or you can come on over and get my, there's a free meditation starter kit. And then that's free, no strings attached. And then I have a little course, it's so cheap. It's a little course to teach you to meditate for 15 minutes in just 15 days. Website, abbymedcalf.com. Go to the shop tab. All the free things are there, as well as things you can pay for. So come on, just go get it already. Don't make me torture you, because I will. I'll torture you. But if you notice, I say a lot of the same things on the podcast, but and then people don't do them. I'm like, hello. These are the things. So friggin' start to meditate, damn it, if stress is an issue. But I will tell you, if you are super anxious, meditation isn't always great. And I will cover that next week. So, and I'll tell you what to do instead. So I know, cliffhanger, you got to wait for next week and listen in. All right. Tip number 2 is you have to become a relaxation promoter. You've got to become an advocate for stress relief in all of your relationships. So I mean everywhere. You got to think about it. And you could schedule a couples massage. You could make a commitment with your best friend to exercise, go out for a walk every day. You could go to a night out at a comedy show, schedule 2 fun things a month. You could get regular mani-pedis, as I do, and my nails are so fabulous from that. Or just encouraging your partner to relax in some way they like. So, going out with the girls for, a day of wine tasting. People seem to like that here in the Bay Area because we got Sonoma and Napa nearby. Not my thing, but getting out with your friends for a few hours of soccer. I don't know, but encourage your partner. Remember that your partner's stress is your stress. You're a shared resource. So helping them relax means helping yourself and your stress. Yes, yes. So you're not envious because they got time to go do something that helps them relax. You're not thinking, oh, what did I get? How come I didn't get? No, no, no. We're a team. We're a team. So all the relaxation all around is a good thing, right? And you should absolutely don't be a martyr. You're not a victim. Make sure you have it too, right? So it's a both and, not an either or. All right, even if you have kids, I know. All right, tip number 3 is you have to make it a priority to get good sleep. You got to make it a priority. And I'm so sorry for everyone listening with little tiny children or with high needs children who are up all night or whatever. But sleep needs to be a priority. Your day, I say it all the time, your day doesn't start when you turn off your alarm in the morning. Your day starts when you set the alarm the night before. Get your ass to bed at a reasonable hour. And get shut-eye. That is the key to being less stressed the next day, right? With good, you know this already. But what do? You're like, oh, I have to stay up late. It's my only me time. That's when I'm relaxing. It is such bullshit. It's such a story you're telling yourself that has zero, and I mean zero, research behind it. Zero. And not only that, the research shows that that is more harmful to you than going to bed. If you sleep well, you wake up with more willpower for the day, and you don't need all those hours at night to be a vegetable. You don't. I don't need it, I'm telling you. And I used to. And I changed my life when I started doing the things that worked for my clients, and then I started using them myself. Who would have thought? And they work. So I am a crazy person with my sleep. I make sure I get to bed. I miss, I guess, a lot of things that are happening because my bedtime is more important. I'm okay with it. I don't, what do I miss? I don't know. I don't really watch TV much. I tend to read. Like, I guess there's things I'm not up on. Like, I don't, I do like that 90 Day Fiancé, I need to say. I'm watching that with my kids. It's kind of fun, my teenagers. But other than that, I don't know, some Project Runway sometimes on Netflix or something. But other than that, there's not a lot of, sitting down all night or binge watching something for hours and hours, or, we watch a couple episodes and we go to bed, right? Like, or an episode, whatever. But I still go to bed on time. We start earlier and I end on time. You have to figure this out, and you have to figure out what that means in your day. But sleep is your biggest predictor of good emotional regulation. If you want to manage your emotions better, which includes your stress and anxiety, you've got to sleep. We know that you get along, from the research, that you get along better with your partner, you're more productive, you're more creative at work, you're a more patient parent, and you'll even lose weight and be more satisfied in your life overall. All from the sleep research. Sleep! It's all about it. It'll increase your willpower battery, which is the best preventative measure you can have for feeling less stress. Become fiercely protective of your sleep. I say with so much love. I did an episode many moons ago on why sleep is the secret to great relationships, where I give tons more information on sleep. And I think there's a wonderful handout with that, with like good sleep hygiene tips. So search for it on the website or search for it on whatever platform you use, and you should be able to find that. Sleep is the secret to great relationships. Abby Medcalf should pop right up. I think it was way back in season 1 is my guess. So it's been a minute. Tip number 4 is you have to reprioritize. If you're really stressed chronically, what is all this fucking craziness for? Maybe it's time to reprioritize what you're doing and how you're quote unquote living. If you're stressed all the time with no end in sight, I don't know that I'd call that living. Sometimes there's stress, obviously, that has an end date. It's short term. You're remodeling your kitchen, although that's not always so short term, is it? But you know what I mean. There's things that are more short term that are stressful. It's starting a new job, a death, something like that. They're stressful, but that's not chronic stress. What I find is that people are just way too busy and way too connected, and they're not prioritizing what's important. We get FOMO, I did a whole episode on FOMO. Look that one up too. How to stop having FOMO. We have this fear of missing out. We say yes to all the invitations. It's really, if you're this busy, it's just too much. Your kids don't need to be in 90 activities to get into college. Their mental health should come first, not anything else. Make some choices. If it's ongoing, it's time to reassess and make some big decisions. If you had a year to live, is this what you'd be doing? So, my stuff, get things off your plate or add resources as needed, but you really have to think about your life if you have chronic stress. Maybe it is time to switch your job, and maybe you can't do it right now, but start an exit plan. Start to really be thoughtful of how it can look. If it's going to feel very different to be in a job over the next year if you know you're leaving and you're making all the connections, you're doing all the things because you have a plan to go. It's going to feel very, very different. When I left corporate, I had a plan. It took me a while. I was like, okay, how am I going to get out of this? Where's the money going to come from? What's going to happen? And it's scary at first. It is. I remember I was terrified, but you make the choices and you figure it out and you set yourself up for success. That's how you do it. Okay. Tip number 5 is to eat the frog. So I'll explain what that means. So since stress is caused by an external factor, right? That's what we said. It's caused by an external thing. That's stress, not anxiety. You want to tackle issues head on. That is always the way to go with stress. That is not true for anxiety, by the way. So when I give anxiety tips later, it's going to be a little different. But I will tell you that tackling, like going after your schedule is kind of always the best way to go, though, stress or anxiety. And so you want to schedule and make it the hard things, the thing you do first. Okay, the things you've been putting off, things you procrastinated. So for example, if you need to pay your bills and you've been procrastinating, put it on your schedule for tomorrow morning before you do anything else. Right now, get your bills together, put them in a little pile next to your computer. You don't have to do it now. It's always nice sometimes when we divide things up. If you're too scared to even look at your bills, just pull one out. I don't care. And then tomorrow, have it in your schedule, or every Thursday morning from 8 to 8:30, you pay bills. Like that's any bills that have come in, you pay. And if you have any time left over, which of course you will, it's not going to take you a half hour every week to pay bills. You can do something fun, play some games on your phone. I don't know, meditate, do something else, but put it in. If you've been, delaying making that root canal appointment because it's going to hurt, you think it's not, by the way, schedule the call for tomorrow first thing. And Mark Twain called this eat the frog, which basically means doing the hardest thing first. You eat the frog, you get it over with. And I will tell you what I love about eating the frog, and it is how I do things. I feel like such a badass the rest of the day. I have so much relief. Do you know the relief? Think of it right now. Something that's on that fucking to-do list. I hate to-do lists. Something that's on there that's been on and on and on. You've been putting off and putting off. Imagine actually doing it. And we all know when you do it, every time you're like, oh my gosh, why did I put that off for so long? That wasn't so hard. I know, we all do it. So it's why I work out first thing in the morning. I literally roll out of bed and go work out because I don't like it. That is my eating the frog. That is my hardest thing of the day. So I just do it. I don't decide to do it. Do you know what like if you're deciding to do it, that's where, of course, your brain is like, oh, do it later. And I know, because I've tried it before, if I try to work out later in the day, never happens. Never, ever, ever. I don't have time. It's the same day, I don't know. Because I've tried, I'm like, oh, I'll wake up early and do other work, and then I'll have time later. Nope. It's just too hard. I put it off. I don't want to do it. So I got to do it when I don't want to, I can't think about it. And I do that with anything. If I have to call my accountant about something, if I have to call a client or talk to someone that I'm really concerned about, I'm anxious about, I do those things first. Right now, my clients are listening going, does she call me first? No, it's not you. So that's really important, should be top of your list. All right. Tip number 6 is to work on increasing your positive emotions. So no matter what the stress is about, having more positive emotions in your life is going to help you combat the negative effects of stress. And I will link in the show notes I did a 4-part series on how to stop negative thinking and all that. It's episodes 111, 112, 113, and 114. I know it's a lot. It's like 4 episodes about how to stop negative thinking, where it comes from, and all my little tools. Okay. So I would go there and take a look if this is something you really want to do, so that you can start cultivating feelings like gratitude, joy, fun, laughter, contentment, love, right? This is one of your best ways to deal with stress, because when you are in that part of your brain, your neocortex, where your spirituality lives, where your compassion, your joy, your fun, that frontal lobe is lit up, your prefrontal cortex, your neocortex, all the goods, right? Your amygdala, that scary part of your brain, can't light up. It doesn't come on at the same time. So when you're involved, right, in something really wonderful, and you're in appreciation and you're in those feelings, it will again be sort of prophylactic, protective against this negative thoughts. So you really want to make it I work on this. No one's happy. Oh, she's just happy. He's just upbeat. No, it's always a practice. It's always a way of thinking that you've practiced to be this way. Trust me. And there are times for any of us when we are down in the dumps, having a pity party. That's all okay to do, occasionally, of course. It's just not a way of life. And you got to work on that. It's a skill it's having more positive emotions is a skill. It's a skill. So, listening to an inspiring song. If music is your thing, start every day with lots of loud music. I don't know. Listen to my podcast. That's got to inspire you. Or my Amazon #1 best-selling book. Have you bought it yet? Be Happily Married, even if your partner won't do a thing. And even if you're not married, it's going to be good. I actually really do suggest it for single people. It's a good way to get ready. Anyway, and to attract the right person. But listen to an inspiring book during your commute, something. Have everyone share a win at dinner every night. Take a walk after dinner. Play a fun game with your friends or family. Take that pottery class you've been putting off. Join a team. Write in a gratitude journal daily. I could go on. These are literally off the top of my head. Stress screws with us. Right? Stress screws with us. Stress makes us focus on the negative. So again, you can help combat it by actively deciding to focus on the positive instead. And when you increase those positive emotions, you're going to get more perspective on your problems. And with perspective comes peace. You're going to see this isn't as bad. There's a bigger picture here. So perspective is really the queen, the king and queen. Queen is better, right? Of being in a more positive place and being less stressed. Okay. And that actually brings us to tip number 7, my final tip, which is a tool for getting perspective. And that is to practice rational emotive therapy. So if you want to get rid of any unwanted emotion, stress, anger, whatever, you have to change your thoughts first, because we feel the way we think. And I say it all the time, it's what we think or tell ourselves about an event that makes us feel something. It's not the event itself. You could have 2 different people in a traffic jam and they're reacting 2 different ways. I see it all the time. One's angry, yelling, road raging and screaming, and the other leans back, turns up the music and sees it as a chance to relax, right? Before getting to work. The reason for this is because it's not the traffic jam that's causing the anger or the calmness. It's each person's thoughts and beliefs about the traffic. So you feel the way you think about a situation or a person. And if you want to change how you feel, if you want to feel less stressed about it, you've got to change how you think about that situation. And RET, or Rational Emotive Therapy, which was created by Dr. Albert Ellis, is my favorite tool to change your thoughts and beliefs so you can improve your feelings. I did an entire episode on this, on how to practice it, which I'll absolutely link to in the show notes and on the blog post page, which is the relationship tips and tools page. But I'm also, because I love you, going to link I have a little tool to help you do it. And it's basically that you have a situation, you write down what your beliefs are about it, and then you write what your feelings are, and then you dispute the beliefs, and you have new beliefs, and you have new feelings. But it's nitty gritty. I write it all out. It's really, I still use this exercise. I've probably been using it for 30 years now. Oh my God, is that true? 25 years? I'd like to say less. I've been using it a long time, and it's very, very effective to get yourself out of feeling so stressed or upset about something, and to see it in a more realistic view, to engage your brain differently. I mean, it's been around a long time because it works. And so you can get that tool by coming on over to the podcast page or the relationship tips and tool page, and you can download it there. And those are my tips. There you go. I gave you a lot today. So next week, like I said, tune in, because we're going to get nitty gritty on anxiety and all the tools for anxiety, which are different than all the tools I had today. I know. And even if you have, if you've been diagnosed with anxiety, trust me, doing these things around stress, some of them, and when I give you the anxiety tools next week, you really be able to see where you use which thing, because there are times when you have anxiety that you're actually just feeling some stress and it hasn't turned into anxiety yet, and you can kind of nip something in the bud, so to speak. You can stop it before it really gets bad. So there you have it. I'm really, let's have a moment together. I'm really excited that you stayed to the end. Yay. Again, depending on where you're watching me or listening, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Having a moment. I love this time with you. It means more to me than it does to you. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I know it means a lot to you because so many of you write in, which I never get tired of reading the emails. I'm telling you right now. And I always love to hear from you. And that's it. So this week, really be mindful. Think about what you do want, not what you don't want. And come back to these notes, over and over, and make something that you learned today a more consistent part of your life. All right. I love you so, so much. I'm sending a big hug right now. I can feel, I'm sending it, cynical New Yorker, but it's my little Jewish mother. Have an amazing week, and I'm going to talk to you real soon.